who you've already heard. She will get us started.
Shine bright like a diamond. You're a beautiful star, I see. You're made to be happy. You and I, we're like diamonds in the sky. You're a beautiful star, I see. You're a vision of fantasy. When we're together, I see we're diamonds in the sky. Yeah, shine bright. Shine bright like a diamond. I know sometimes it's hard for us to remember or to even believe that we're diamonds. But we're born this way. That's what we came to tell you today, to remind you of who you are and why we know for sure who you are. You're diamonds in the sky. Author Leela Akila, in her book, Think Great and Be Great. What she said is this: we face our adversity with graciousness. We come out shining like a diamond. And so even though it may look like sometimes our life is pretty difficult and full of adversity, we are in fact diamonds. Shine bright. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond.
As PJ has told us
Shine bright like a diamond.
in her song and her words, we are diamonds. And if I were to ask you, what is a diamond? Any one of us could talk about the diamondness of diamonds. We know they're hard, we know they're powerful, we know they're strong. We could pretty much talk about that. But then when I say, what does it mean that we are diamonds? We might be looking for some metaphors, we might be looking for some answers, but we don't really know what that means. It means something great, it means something brilliant, but what does it really mean that we are diamonds? And in the same kind of a thing, we talk about being a human being. We say we're human, and we've had a spiritual experience. We probably grew up hearing that. Oh, they had an epiphany. And most of us can say what that means, but have we also heard, and I know I heard it for a long time and even said it, that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Now, the first part of that, we're human beings. Any middle school kid can give you a reasonable answer as to what does being human mean. You know, we walk on 2 feet, we are self-aware, we're sentient, we have those kinds of things. So we know what it means to be human, but we don't know really what it means to be a spiritual being. And the way it's talked about it tends to be separate. So I have a couple questions for you right now, and I would like to show of hands. This means show of hands. How many of you have a heartbeat right now?
No, I think so, yes.
You have a heartbeat? Yeah? Yes, you have a heartbeat. Yes, all good. The other hand, let's do the other hand. How many of you are breathing right now? Got it, right. We're all breathing. How many of you are thinking at the moment? And have some kind of an emotion going on at the moment? So you're doing all this at the same time, right? Well, you're a human being and a spiritual being at the same time. So let's take that idea. Now I'm going to go through this diamond kind of an analogy so that we can have this to hang on. We're going to talk about what we are as a human being and as a spiritual being at the same time. I'm going to need your help because I know my talk is not going to be that memorable talk that you remember for the rest of your life, so I need something for you to hang on to. When I do this, right, I need you to help me out, and this is partly in honor of PJ. I need you to say 4-part harmony. So when I do this,
4-part harmony.
Oh, you guys are good. It took me a couple of times to get to Waco Church to do that, so thank you. Okay, so there's a competition, right? So you are a
4-part harmony.
Right. Now back to spirit and human. Here's the thing. I've studied a lot, We got involved in this back in the early 90s, mid-90s, and we said, wow, this is so great. We've been looking for this all of our life. You hear that over and over and over. And then we heard this thing that we're a spiritual being having a human experience. So we got into studies. We've taken classes. I went all the way, right? Now, you hear about this. Say, okay, you're a spiritual being over here. That's before you become human. And then we have this life experience, bam, right here in the middle. And then when we make our transition, we go on to be a spiritual being. What does that mean? What is that? What happens to you before you get here? And what happens to you when you go away? We don't know. We have some good ideas. We have some really, really, really good ideas about it. And some of us have some firm convictions and beliefs, but we don't know. We don't really know. I mean, do you? Do you really know what happened before you got here? Do you remember? Because I don't. I know childhood was a long time ago for me, but I don't remember. So what we can talk about is not that, not this, but this. Here we are being a human spiritual being. So let's talk about what that is. All right? Now, most of you, I think all of you, have your little piece of paper. You have the paper? And if you hold it up, what you have is a square. Right? But if you just turn it a little bit, you've got a diamond. So there you are. Isn't that clever? Okay, so what I'd like you to do is help me out, and I would like you to write on the top of your diamond, we're going to talk about the humanness of us. I would like you to write mind. Your mind, your consciousness. And what does mind be? What does that mean? It means that we are our thoughts. Now, when I say mind and consciousness, I'm talking about what we're thinking about, what's going on right now, and also that massive part of our mind, which is our subconscious mind. Subconscious is where all of our beliefs reside. Beliefs about God, beliefs about that, but also beliefs about ourselves. Who we are, what we are, those beliefs that came up through childhood, formed what we are, how we experience life. That is where that's in. It's in our mind, in our conscious and subconscious. Now, on the bottom part of your diamond, I'd like you to put down the thing that is your power. And that is choice. You have decisions and actions. You get to choose. We have free will. That's something we talk about all the time in all the churches around. It's not just unity. You go anywhere and they talk about your free will. You have free will. So now the really, really, really neat thing about being human is not only do you create your life with your thoughts and your beliefs, but you get the chance or the choice to change those beliefs to whatever you want them to be. Now, I grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, where all of my friends, when we graduated, that was our first time in county jail. Not the first time we got through high school. That's not the graduation. You think, no, because none of us graduated from high school. In fact, I still haven't graduated from high school. But that was, and I looked at this and I said, I don't want to live like this. I grew up in the projects. On the wrong side of the tracks. We lived in the housing projects, all that. And literally nobody graduated high school. If you got out of school and didn't go to jail and you got a job, you were a roaring success. That was my belief. And I say my belief. Truly, my belief was that rich people, in our world, rich meant that you had a car and you had a house and 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. That was rich for us. Rich people were not to be trusted. See, we were very, very proud of being poor. And you talk to poor people, and they are proud of it, and we were proud of it because we could make do on nothing. My mom was a single mom back in the 50s, and we talk about the glass ceiling. I lived that glass ceiling, and the glass ceiling gives you the idea that's over here above your head, right? As you go up, well, I'll tell you what, if you're a single woman in the 1950s, that glass ceiling got lower and lower. If you're a divorced woman, it got real low. Oh, wait a minute. She also was uneducated. Remember, we don't graduate. So here we have an uneducated woman in the 50s, a divorcee, that was guaranteed poverty. That's where we lived. So I built in that whole thing. Now, I wanted to change. So I started making decisions about my prosperity consciousness. We use those terms, but really what it is I needed to rebuild and reprogram my subconscious mind. My subconscious mind had to say, oh, it's okay to have a car that is nice with good tires. It's okay to have a house. It's just the regular things. I was shy about having this. And why did I need to do that? Well, I wanted a beautiful wife. And trust me, the beautiful wives were not available to a guy who's coming out of county jail. It doesn't work. The good girls in school want the guy who's going to college, not the guy who's going to where I went. And the thing is, when you're going to high school in a small town, it was Ventura, California, where I went to high school, and there's 30,000 people there. So we're going to school with the kids who are on the right end of town and the wrong end of town. We're all mixed up. So I saw those girls that knew that their boyfriends were going to go to college. I wanted that. So all I had to do was change my mind. So that's on the bottom of your diamond. So we have the two parts, the humanness. Let's go this way. Let's talk about our spirituality. We know that we say we are a spiritual being. Prove it to me. Prove it to me. I'm going to ask you at the end of this talk to prove it to yourself. How do we look at that? Well, over on your left, my right, your right, my left, okay, I would like you to put on there principle. On your diamond, put the word principle. Spirit as law, spirit as principle. And we know, because we talk about this all the time, exactly what I was just saying about my consciousness, we know that our consciousness interacts with principle. Whatever we put into spirit comes back to us as the tone and timbre of our life. Not the incident, not the exact moment, but the tone and timbre, the style, the pattern of your life is what's patterned by your subconscious. How does that work? What's going on there? You see, I like to think of us as a radio transmitter and a radio receiver. Well, that's really kind of cool, but how do I know that? Fortunately, for me, because in the last 20 years, people who are into these kinds of things have developed enough finite instruments that we can actually measure electricity that's emitted by the body. When you have a thought, any thought, it gives off electricity. And it's also giving off spiritual energy, if you will. It's giving off electricity. We can prove that. We know that happens. And if you have an emotion, that little tiny, teensy, itsy bit of electricity starts growing. The more emotion, the stronger that electricity. Now here's the good news. They can't tell what you're thinking. Okay? If somebody comes in and you got the hots for them, nobody knows. They just know that you're putting out some energy. Okay? They don't know what it is, but whoa, okay. But we can do that. Now how can we prove that to ourselves? Because trust me, you probably don't have these huge things that can tell what your energy is. But you do it all the time. You've probably gone to pick up the telephone and it rang and it was a good friend or your mom. Somebody who you're close to. I was just going to call you. Or you called someone and they said that same thing to you. I was just going to call you. Or we've heard some news. I was thinking about them that day. What is that but that energy going back and forth? We are a transmitter and a receiver. And our conscious thoughts and our subconscious thoughts are always working, giving us this transmission of energy. That's why our belief becomes the timbre and the tone of your life. Now, I believe in prosperity now, where at a subconscious level, I got a beautiful wife. And she stayed with me for over 30 years. So I had to do some deep fixing a long time ago. But it works. So we have this thing that goes on. So that is spirit as principle. But here's the thing. Principle doesn't care. Principle doesn't care if you have a good thought or a bad thought. It didn't mind that I had thoughts in prosperity or my thoughts in lack. It didn't matter that the guys who I hung out with believed they would go to jail, and they did. See, the Bible tells us that rain will fall on the just and the unjust alike. Exactly. Let's use it for another one. How many here think they're good people? Come on. You're a good guy, right? Well, yeah, you can raise your hand. You're a good guy. Yeah, you're a good guy.
That's good.
Now, how many people, I'm going to say something that's kind of like eating, but how many people know someone, if you don't think they're a bad person, that they at least do bad things? Come on. Yeah, exactly. Now, we know that they're a child of God. We know they're a good person, but they do bad things. We don't have to stretch. If you see somebody kick a dog, it's a bad thing. A video went viral here a while back where the Baylor kid beat his dog with a belt. It was a horrible thing. Yes, we know that's bad, so we don't have to worry about what is bad. It's there, right? But here's the thing. You know where they are right now? They're being held down to the ground by gravity. Not one of them has just simply fluttered off, because gravity works for the just and the unjust alike. It happens. We experience it all the time. You see? So principle doesn't care whether your thoughts are good, whether your thoughts are bad, whether they're positive, growth, or small. That's principle. But you know what? That's not good enough. Because we want to have, personally, a good life. So how do we put that together? How do we reconcile having a great, wonderful life in unity? And fortunately for me, I've got someone who is really good at talking about that part. So, Reverend PJ.
Thank you. Reverend Jason talked about the mind, your choices, and we know if you change your mind, you change your life. You just change the choices that you make, and principle, law acts upon whatever it is you truly believe in. So the other part of your diamond is also spirit, but this is not spirit as law. This is being spirit-led, okay? That's what we're going to talk about. How are you spirit-led? How do you speak with spirit? How do you let the spirit guide your life? Now, I was raised as a southern, black, yes, but a southern black Baptist. You probably didn't notice that, but yeah. I slide in. But I was raised that way. And my mother was highly spiritual. Highly spiritual. Our whole lives, she spoke with God all the time. And just let me just clarify right now. My mother spoke to God, and it was God. That's, Lord, help me, God, whatever. And for me, because I'm now a new thought, a rose is a rose is a rose. It doesn't make any difference if I call it, a violet. It's still a rose. So I don't call God God. God is personal to me. And everybody sees it differently. Jason sees it as the cosmos, and I have a friend that kind of sees it as this peaceful smoke, and I have other friends that, I don't know, basketball is heaven. But for me, God, the one that I speak with, is a personal God, is a male, is a friend of mine, and his name is George. So when I talk with George, and the reason my other friend asked me, why do you call him George? Because George is my friend. George makes a lot of sense, and I can argue with George. I get to talk to George and go, what do you mean? What's this all about? This is how I have conversations. My mother had the same conversations with God. And she called upon God all the time. Lord, help me, please. When things weren't going right in her life, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus! So she's always calling out. So I knew this. And I saw her spirituality in action because she had a just-in-time God. And what I mean by that is that my mother prayed when things were going wrong and she needed some help. And she always said things like, well, God, I know you'll come just in time. You may not do what I want, but you are always right on time. That's how she always prayed. That's how I came up being prayed. But as I grew into new thought and unity and began to understand how it actually works, I began to think about a right now God. What if I had a right now God that I could just pray to at any time, anywhere, about anything that I wanted? And I would be led to do whatever I decided, mind, choices, decisions, whatever I decided, I could be led into doing. So here's kind of how it works. I'll give you some examples in my life, but think about this. Whatever your avocation may be, whatever you love to do, maybe you're a musician, maybe you're a painter, maybe you cook great, whatever it is, or maybe it's your vocation, what you actually do for a living. And you think about going to the next level, whatever that level, the highest level, whatever that level is, and you have an image of that level or that person that's already there, someone that you admire that's already there, and you want to be like that person. So if you have that in your mind, and think about, what if that person saw you and said, Susie, I see what you're doing. I see you're working hard, and I think you need to be exactly where I am. And I'm going to tell you everything you need to know, every step of the way, to get you where I am right now, because that's where you get to be. That's a mentor. That is a mentor. That's what we all think about all the time. If I only had a mentor, well, guess what? You do. We all do. Exactly. We all have a mentor, and his name is George for me. And his name is whatever you call it. for you. But now here's how it works, a real life example. And there's many, many, many in my life. But I'm going to do this one because it was so clear and so obvious to me when this happened. And from then on, and I didn't do it every single day from then on, it took some time for me to get that I could actually do it all the time. But this is the one that showed me this is how you want to live. So Jason and I lived in California. And we were living in Los Angeles. And we moved to the small town of San Diego. Small by comparison. And we were looking for a place to stay. We didn't know if we were going to like it, if we were going to live there, want to buy a home. So we were looking for a place to rent. So we went to this, we saw in the paper, there was a great little house. It was 2 bedrooms, beautiful wood floors, a fireplace. It was right above Balboa Park. So if you're familiar with San Diego, California, Balboa Park is where the zoo is. It is the most beautiful park, I would say pretty much in the world. It is just so beautiful. And so we saw this house, it was great. And we called the gentleman in the paper who owned it, and we said, hey, we really want to rent the house. I want to take a look at the house. And he said, I'm showing the house on Saturday. And I said, okay, great. Then we'll call you on Saturday. We'll come by and see it. And as we were looking at the house, I'm thinking, these are my thoughts, and I'm thinking, this is a nice house. This house could work. This could probably work for us, you know. And so that's what that was. So we went home, and on Saturday, I called him, and I said, yeah, I want to meet with you and take a look at the house. That was Friday, by the way, when I talked with him, so Saturday morning. And he said, oh, I rented the house. Sorry. I thought you said you weren't going to show it until Saturday morning. And he said, yeah, well, a guy called me yesterday, and he just was adamant that I showed him the house. So I showed it to him, and I read it to him. Now, excuse me for saying this on the pulpit, but I was pissed off. What do you mean? I mean, I'm playing by the rules. You said, you know, and it didn't happen. So now I'm talking to George, and I'm like, what happened? What's going on here? Why don't I have this house? We wanted this house. You knew I wanted this house. Why don't I have it? What happened? He said, no, I didn't know you wanted this house. Hell, yeah, that's exactly what I did. But what do you mean you didn't know? He said, you didn't say you wanted the house. You didn't say you liked the house. You said the house could work. And that's exactly what I said. I said, this house could work. I didn't claim this house. I said it could work. So this is me and George talking back and forth. I said, okay, all right, I see. I see how you're going to be now. I'm telling you, I see how you're going to be. So you want me to be clear. Is that what you're saying? Be clear. When I find what I want, I'll do that. So we looked at some more houses. We found another house. It was a, what do we call that house? A craftsman house. You guys know what that is? I mean, they have a lot of craftsmen here in Texas. Beautiful old house. And it was standing, it had beautiful white carpet, it had a fireplace, it had a beautiful yard, a deck with a bougainvilleas coming off the side, just a gorgeous place. So I saw the house, I said, okay, I want this house. This is the house I want. This house right here, I want this house. You know what George said to me? And I said, do you have that? Do you understand that? I want this house. You know what he said? He said, I heard you the first time. I got it. You want the house. Exactly, I want this house. So I called the gentleman in the paper and I said, I'd like to see your house. You know, and he said, I'm showing the house on Saturday.
Oh, no.
Hell. And I put the phone just away from myself and I was talking to George in my head. I'm going to shit out of you. Sorry, I did say that. And he said, no, I got it. I understand Joe's house. And I said to God, that's okay. Saturday's fine. I'll see you on Saturday. So I show up on Saturday, and he's there, he's got the key, and he says to me, there's a lot of people want to see, because it was a great house, there's a lot of people want to see this house, you know, I don't care about the other people. This house is mine. So just show me the house, and it'll be fine. So we went in, and it was a beautiful house. And I said, okay, let's get the application, filled out, and I'll leave you the check, for the deposit. And he goes, no, I mean, really, he's like I was crazy. He said, no, you don't even know if the application's going to go through. You can't leave a check. I said, oh, don't worry about that. Application's going to go through. You just take this check. My husband and I have to go out of town. We're going to San Francisco. Call me on Monday and tell me where the keys are. He said, yeah, okay, I'll call you. So he calls me on Monday. We're in San Francisco. And he says, well, okay, the application came. Not one other person came to see that house. Not one. We got the house. He said, I have the keys for you. I said, no, he said, you got the house. I said, I know. I said, okay, where are the keys at? So I got the keys and we lived in that house. Now, here's what I want you to know. Here's what was clear to me. I asked God. God called to me. George told me exactly how to pray. Instead of, that's the important thing. Not that I got the house. The house is not important, although I get a lot of things because I'm very clear about how to pray. What is it that you want? Get clear about that. And then talk to God as if it's already done. Because didn't he say that in Matthew 7:7? He said, knock, the door is open, seek, you will find, ask, and you will receive. These are the instructions he's given us the whole time. And it's very clear to me, all I have to do is be clear about what I want and then ask for it as if it's already happened. Now here's the other thing, the bonus that happens is, when you know that you have a mentor, you have somebody on your side, I mean, you walk around so differently. I mean, you're knocking doors down, you're like, oh, I got this. This is mine. You're talking different because you already know. Somebody else's worries are not yours. Because you've already cleared it with George. He's already said, I hear you, go for it, I'll clear the way. You don't worry about the people, the obstacles that appear to be in your way. No need to worry about that. I got your back. So this is what it's like to walk with Spirit, to be Spirit-led. Your life is in flow. All you have to do is know what you want and talk to George.
Well, isn't she great? You can see why I asked her, begged her, please, go talk about that, because she brings that emotion that I just, I've lost out in the ether somewhere. She's talking about your mentor, and this talk is about what you are. You are a human spiritual being. So you've got mind, you've got choice and decision to reformat your mind. You've got spirit as law, as principle that operates on your mind, and you have this mentor. You have a mentor that is, am I on or off? I'm on. Okay. And that will tell you what to do. Now, we don't always hear that. Not all of us have this ability to talk to George. That's very personal for her. So how can we do this? How do we know that this happens to us? I have a good friend. I've known him for over 20 years. And he's funny. He says, I would love to be an atheist. He said, I wanted it so hard to be an atheist. He grew up in the Catholic Church and did all the stuff, altar boy and all that. Then in his 30s, he fell away from the church and just gave it all up. He said, I wanted to be an atheist. Now his wife would drag him to church when I was a minister at Unity in Waco back in 99. And I was talking about the still small voice within. And it hit him. Oh, God. Because it ruined it. Because he remembered when he was 14, he had a little brother who was only 3 years old. So it was an 11-year gap. And he was the one who was really connected to this kid. He was in the kitchen with his parents. And they were doing something. And it just floored him. He got this message. It wasn't a still small voice. It was trumpets. It was blasting. It was trombones. Go outside and find your brother. Do it now. It wasn't, maybe you should. It was, get up and go now. So he did. He went outside and in West Texas, and they had an outside incinerator, and the little boy, 3-year-old, had fallen in and had burned himself badly, not horrifically, but badly, and was passed out in the smoke and the fire of this incinerator. So he ran out, found the kid, brought his unconscious brother, 3-year-old brother, back in the house. Now, everybody's fine, and the story went on, and he was very mad at his parents and became a real jerk. But the thing is, he said, I would love to be an atheist, but I have experienced the voice of God in my head for no reason. I had no right to know. Of course, I have the right and the wrong, but he said, I had no real reasonable right to understand what I understood. I knew this to be absolutely, irrevocably true. I had to go find my brother wherever he was. Saved his life. Now, that doesn't happen to most of us, something of that magnitude. Charles Fillmore said very well, and I'm going to read it so I get it correct. He says, the mind of spirit will guide you in perfect ways. Here's the thing. Even in the minute details of your life. if you will let it be so. The minute details of your life. Now, PJ didn't say it, and telling her story, was we spent almost 11 years in Asia, and we're just now coming back. We've been back here since June. For the last 5 years of those, she was in Thailand, and she's a singer, right? You got that. So she went over to Thailand. We were in Vietnam, where I was working, and she went over there, excuse me, and said she was going to make a living as a musician. I was working as the headmaster of a school system. It was boring, very boring. She didn't like it, so she was going to go sing. And so she did in Thailand. And for 5 years, she was on Phuket Island, by the way. Phuket is an island that has over 2 million visitors. It's a world destination. It's ringed with 5 and 6 star, yes, even 6-star resorts. It's an amazing place. People from Europe and all over the world go there. And for the 5 years she was there, she was the #1 highest paid, most booked band there. And what happened was she went over there and she said, okay, God, it's time for you and me to get it together here. And I'm going to tell you what I want. I want to make a living as a musician. And I want you to make it work perfectly for me. And so she would not make a move until she listened. Even the small things, the minute details of your life. She wound up being the highest paid band, her band, for 5 years in a competitive environment, in a world-class destination. So she just listened. So it can work. You don't have to do all the work I did to change your mind and do all that stuff to get your whole subconscious right. That's a place that you work on while you are listening, while you are having a relationship with your personal God. Charles Fillmore said, the mind and spirit will tell you what to do even in the minute details. So this is what your job is. Today, you're probably going to go back, many of you will go back and have coffee, and I know the coffee's ready. Tom made it this morning. So you're going to go back and have coffee. What I'd like you to do, if you would please, is find one person at least and have a conversation. Both of you. One talks, one listens, one talks, one listens. And tell that person where you have experienced or know someone who you truly trust has experienced hearing that small voice. When I was going to pick up the phone and my best friend was there. Something that gives you the knowledge of something that you don't have the right to know. Meaning you don't have a scientific reason to know it. I'd like you to talk to somebody about that. Then the second part of this is, this week, I want you to go about your business. Just go about your life. But keeping in mind when you talk to Spirit and when you listen to Spirit. So then when you come back next week, that person that you talk to here, you'll come back and tell each other what happened. How does being a member of the Unity Church and hearing about yourself as a human spiritual being, having a heartbeat, breathing, talking, living, doing all of this at the same time, how does this touch your life in practical, actual part of your life every day? How can you start experiencing Spirit so that you can be the #1 highest paid band in your life? Start listening. Start talking. Start listening. Start talking. So if you would please, if you leave here out the front door, get your car and go away, then go home and find somebody who you can talk to. Call up your friend out in California, or New York, or Indiana, and say, hey, I've got this job. I need you to be with me for this week. Talk to me. Make a point to go out this week and put that into your life. Okay? So can I get an agreement, just a head nod? Can I get an agreement that we'll do this? Thank you. So let's take this time right now and kind of move in. Let's talk about practical spirituality. Let's move into prayer. And if you would, just close your eyes and settle in. And as we open our hearts and recognize that we are with God, we are part of that whole universal spirit. The universal essence of God surrounds us. It is all. God is all. In the words of Maya Angelou, God is all. God is all. We recognize that, and then we understand that we are the voice of God in our life. We are the unique expression of God in this physical world. And understanding that we are the voice of God in our life, let's choose to be Spirit-led. Let's choose to open our hearts to joy. And imagine, if you will, imagine new people coming to this church, Community Church of Temple. Imagine the new friends you can make here. And their joy as they learn that they have a spiritual home. Imagine their joy, their heart, lifting the smile on their faces. They said, wow, I thought I was alone out here. And I'm so, so happy to know that I'm not. That I have this opportunity to be having a spiritual home. See that in your mind. Feel that in your heart as you meet new friends, as the growth of this church comes together. Meet new and wonderful, wonderful people. They bring their energy and their love, and together you grow individually, making your life even greater. Now you trust that this can actually happen. You see it being true. You see it recognizing that energetic touch with you and each new person. You see that in your mind. You see that in your heart. And as you trust it to be true, you feel gratitude down in the middle of your being, in your heart, in your chest. Just that feeling of gratitude that comes up. And as you have this gratefulness strengthening in your heart, put all of this together, your gratitude, your knowing, your choice, and let it drift off. As a bubble will go away, and you trust that it is true in spirit, as you have already said your word. You trust and let go. And together we say, Amen, and so it is. Together, Amen, and so it is.
You're beautiful, I see. You're beautiful mystery. You and I, we're like diamonds in the sky. You're beautiful, I see. You're a vision of fantasy. When we're together, you're like diamonds in the sky. Diamonds shine bright, yeah. Shine bright, shine bright like a diamond. You and I, you see, you're a beautiful fantasy. When we're together, we shine bright like the diamond. Yeah, down the sky.
And now,
Shine bright,
I'd like to give you a gift that will help you remember that you are a diamond, each one of you.
shine bright
Is a diamond.
You're
The diamond
beautiful
in the sky,
fantasy.
and the diamond
Shine
here
bright,
on the ground.
shine
bench.
bright.
It's a small token to help you remember.
You're a beautiful
But you are.
fantasy. You're a beautiful mystery. You and I, we're diamonds in the sky. You're a beautiful mystery. You're a beautiful star, I see. You and I, we're diamonds in the sky. Shine bright. That's your life, you see. You're so beautiful, yeah. Shine bright, yeah. Shine bright like a diamond. You're a beautiful diamond, yeah. Shine bright, girl. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond.
Okay, I want to say thank you so very much. We ran a little long, and we so much appreciate your being with us. It is now time for your offering, and I believe you're going to come up and take care of that for us.